Well, I mean, just the visual, Missy, of saying, I am grounded, right? Telling yourself, I am grounded. I mean, to me, I almost instantly see that churn, right? Like you're saying all the thoughts in your head. I instantly see them like almost like they're soldiers that you just commanded. And they're like, okay, now I'm going to get in line. When you say I am grounded, as opposed to the opposite of that would just be I'm floating, right? All right. Welcome to the Leadership Laboratory podcast. Thank you for tuning in. My goal is to deliver immediately applicable tips so that you can experiment with your leadership style. If there is one thing that all successful leaders I've worked with have in common, it is knowing that leadership is one big experiment. And in adopting that mindset, it allows leaders like you to reduce the fear of failure and shift your focus to progress over perfection. Get ready for motivation and inspiration today, as I am thrilled and honored to welcome our guest, Missy Hills. Missy is an engineer and strategy leader who has worked in the energy industry for over 16 years. She is passionate about helping smart people solve complex problems. When she is not tackling operational challenges at her day job, she's passionately leading a global anti-trafficking movement. Incredibly meaningful and needed work. Thank you for that, Missy. And on weekends, you'll often find her behind a camera, taking photos of families, community events, and her own adventures, such as traveling and building Lego sets with her adorable two boys. Welcome, Missy.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. We're so excited to have you. So, to give a little background to our listeners, Missy and I first crossed paths through the Women's Energy Network. Missy is a member of WEN, and she joined the leadership cohort that was utilizing my online course for their curriculum. And after completing the course, Missy was hungry for more and advanced to essentially what the master level of that course is. Both of these courses, by the way, are hosted within the Leadership Laboratory community. And Missy successfully completed many leadership experiments throughout her tenure in those programs. And there's one in particular that I invited her here today to share with you. And that is an experiment about clarity in career path, and helping Missy to answer the question many wrestle with, the question of what do I want to be when I grow up? Do I have those details correct, Missy? Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting opportunity to talk about this because I've had the opportunity to tell my friends that this is actually, a big game changer for me. And it was really about being able to find the signal and all the noise that was inside my head. And after the experiment and the path that I'm on now, I can see that. I can see the future that I'm headed to, and I know exactly the steps that I need to take to get there. And I can articulate it really clearly to others when they say, what are you up to? What are you going to do? So I think the experiments are to credit for that. And like I said, it's that key word, game changer.
Game changer. Well, I'm so excited that you say that game changer and that you're after is the clarity, your ability to articulate it clearly. And not to put you on the spot with this, but if I were to ask you, like, Missy, what are you up to? What are you doing right now? How do you answer that question?
Oh, okay. What I am up to, I know I want to build something big, and I know it's going to take some time, and I know exactly where my skills are unique in this kind of crazy professional life. And so like you mentioned in the beginning, I'm passionate about helping smart people um, solve complex problems. And so that's what I want to do. I want to build a leadership framework that helps people understand complexity and helps people be able to lead through it, lean into that complexity, and not shy away from it, not feel like they have to resort things down to black and white, but actually do what I call leading through the gray space. So that's what I'm up to. And over the next, 10 years or so, I hope to be able to gain the skills to really do this in a research backed way and get to the point where I have my own framework and helping really smart people solve complex issues and stay in that gray space while they do it.
I love it. Well, and as you were articulating that, I mean, I heard no filler words in that, just pure confidence and clarity. And I know that listening to that, people probably just go, "Oh, yeah, like, that just sounds very natural, like, that's just what was happening for Missy," but actually, that's not the case. I mean, you worked hard to get to that clarity and to find that, and, when I first met you, Missy, you immediately struck me as someone who is highly intelligent, lots of ideas. I mean, you had no lack of ideas. I remember actually envisioning that scene from the movie A Beautiful Mind with John Nash. Remember this scene where he's got like there's all the formulas and the different numbers and equations floating around in his head and he's trying to pick out the one or two little ones. That is how I envisioned you. You had all this brilliance floating above your head, and there was a lot of churn up there. It was you were really trying hard to figure out, like, which ones of these formulas or data points can I pull out?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I think I just had this head full of static, and I knew that I was capable of doing amazing things. And I would even say that I felt confident at some point, but I didn't really understand that I didn't really have that confidence, that I really needed to take the next step because even though I knew I was capable of all these big things, I had no idea how to structure it in a way to actually move me forward. And I got really hung up on that and I got really frustrated and I felt stuck. And so I know at one point we had a phone call when I was trying to decide, hey, do I go into this next level of the leadership laboratory and move into this next phase? And I think I signed up like the last day that that cohort was getting ready because I was really not sure. But I said, yeah, I feel stuck. I feel like I'm in this big transitional period. I know that I'm in a transformation and I just need that next step. And so I took the plunge. I decided to go ahead and get into that next phase because I just needed help figuring out how do I get this static into something I can work with.
Yeah, yeah. Which is so true for many of us, but something where I mean, did you feel kind of alone in that? Like, did you wonder if, am I the only one who's kind of all of this in here?
Yeah. It's funny. I felt alone in the sense that, like, why is it? I think I told you, I said, is it really supposed to be this hard? And he said, I don't know. Let's talk about that. And I felt like everyone else had it figured out. Like they knew what they were going to do. They knew where they were headed, what they were going to do. They were moving up those really clear steps, moving from manager to director to VP. And when they talked to me, they're like, okay, how do we get you to that next step of director and VP? And so I did feel a little alone because I felt like that my path feels different. I think I can do something different and I just don't know how to do that. And then at the same time, I felt, but what do I have that's special compared to everybody else? I mean, doesn't everyone think this way? And how, like, why is my ability to help think in this like really complex space? I don't think I saw that as being unique until you and other people in the cohort, some of my allies and mentors, and I really started exploring that. I realized, wow, that's something unique that I really have that I could help people with. And this is a niche that I can get into.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, and I got goosebumps when you said that, and I heard somebody call them truth bumps the other day. That when someone's speaking something inspirational, it gives you truth bumps. I love hearing you say that because that's one of the first steps, right, in getting unstuck and alleviating some of that frustration is realizing that you already have what you need. It's going back to, I love how you said it, finding the signal in the noise, peeling back some of those things, be like, yeah, I am really good at this. And I think because it's one of your natural gifts, maybe you even took it a little bit for granted. Well, doesn't everybody know how to solve complex problems? And then when you got in the cohort, realize like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, maybe people know how to do that. They're aware of it. They know how to do it, but not the way you do. And once you owned that and really took a hold of it, would you say that was one of the first turning points or one of the things that started to unlock next steps for you?
Yeah, yeah, there were definitely multiple unlocking steps, but there was one in particular that I go back to, and it was after one of these experiments where we said, "Okay, I want you to try to write out goals." And I know goals suck. You said that I know everybody hates goals. You hate it, but we're going to try to do this. And you walked us through an exercise as a group, as a cohort, where we just had to write down everything. We wrote down, we envisioned what we wanted to be in 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, and kind of worked backwards. And then we also, you said, let go of whatever everybody told you you're supposed to do. Let go of everything that you think you're supposed to do? What do you want to do? How do you want to feel? That was big for me. I remember writing that down. How do you want to feel? How do you want to show up? And I would just remember writing. And then you said, okay, let's turn that into goals. And you gave us a framework and we started to turn that into goals. And I got really frustrated trying to figure out how to get that into these extra statements. So during our one-on-one session, I'm telling you, I'm frustrated. I'm like, I could go this way, I could go that way. And I'm kind of going off on this tangent of like all these different things I could do. And I don't know what questions you asked, but there were a series of questions that you asked me that unlocked something in me. And this is the power of coaching. And this is why I tell people that don't have a coach, I'm like, coaches don't tell you how to do it. They don't tell you the answer, but somehow they ask these magical questions that get you to figure out what's already inside of you. And that's exactly what I felt, this unlocked moment where it all came clear. It's like, oh, I know what I need to do. And within days, I had a skeleton written out for the next 10 years of actionable steps and things that I needed to do to make this a reality. And so it really was just this unlocked moment where I had all this static, and then all of a sudden that static just turned into this like clear signal that now I'm following.
Oh, that's so powerful. I remember that your session well, and I remember your energy when you came into it, just as you described, just like frustrated and like, but feeling so close. Like you had the answer in there. It was just the answer was next to a bunch of other answers, and so you didn't know. It was kind of like this very complex multiple choice, and you're like, if I could just find the one. And then when you left that session, like, your posture was lighter, you had a smile on your face, it was just such a shift in energy. And so interesting too, Missy, that one of the things you found was that signal leading you to leading in the gray space. I mean, isn't that's kind of ironic, isn't it? And
Yeah, yeah.
how you're able to, like, into that?
Yeah, I think it is ironic because part of reading in the gray space is being able to take really complex, kind of tied up knots and being able to not necessarily unknot them, but to be able to stay in that space long enough to come up with new solutions and to think through and kind of rise above what seems like black and white. So it is really ironic that I myself was kind of really stuck in all of that static when and what I pulled out of that is helping people to not unstuck out of static. So yeah, I never really thought about it that way until now, but I guess it was just kind of always inside of me. I just needed to figure out how to turn it to something that I think other people would resonate with.
Yes, yes. And to your point, I mean, that's what we trained coaches do. We don't conjure up things that aren't already in you. We just help you find them. I do remember though there was one of the tools that I mean, you're such a good student. You took advantage of all of the tools, and one in particular was under the positive intelligence umbrella, and the idea, not the idea, but the theory of the saboteurs. That was the big one for you that helped unlock some of the self-limiting beliefs, right? What you may now recognize as self-limiting beliefs. Can you speak to the saboteurs or define those for our listeners? Or
Yeah, I would say I'm still on this journey, and I think something that I want to continue to really dig into. But the idea of positive intelligence, this idea that you face the saboteurs that are going on in your head that are kind of self-limiting you. You could separate them, you could call them out, name them, separate them from yourself. And then when something goes wrong or something bad happens, instead of spiraling kind of out of control, you're able to really stay grounded. And one of the things that we do in the all of your sessions was we have mantras. And mine evolved over time, but the mantra that really stuck with me that I still use to this day is I am grounded. And if you think about someone that feels like all this stuff going in their head, all this static, and they're being pulled all these different ways, it's really easy to let that make you feel ungrounded or feel like you're just like floating through life. But this idea of using positive intelligence to ground me and then understanding, okay, what are the saboteurs that are really self-limiting me and how do I call them out? How do I understand why they were there, but say, okay, I don't need you for this and move forward. And one of the biggest ones that we talked about for me was my hyperachiever. So this idea that I must be achieving something all the time and I will never truly be successful because every time I reach one level of success, that's not good enough. I have to go to the next level. And so that's something I'm actively working on and trying to acknowledge and see within me so that so that I can really focus on being grounded and going back to that signal and all static.
Yes. Well, I mean, just the visual, Missy, of saying, I am grounded, right? Telling yourself, I am grounded. I mean, to me, I almost instantly see that churn, right? Like you're saying all the thoughts in your head. I instantly see them like almost like they're soldiers that you just commanded. And they're like, okay, now I'm going to get in line when you say I am grounded, as opposed to the opposite of that would just be I'm floating, right? And the floating, I mean, and there's a time and a place for the floating, right? When you're ideating or maybe trying to come up with another idea, but ultimately you've got to be grounded in order to move forward with some steps. So I want to go back and define a few things because if someone's listening and they haven't heard of positive intelligence or they haven't heard of saboteurs, and they're like, what are you ladies talking about? That's one of the powerful pieces to this is when you have the vocabulary, right? And you have the tools you can call out. So the saboteurs, in one way, you could say they're the mean girl voices in your head, right? They're the voices that intercede and they tell you that you can't do something or you shouldn't do something. Or one of them is named hyperachiever. Missy and I share that one in common. uh, that the hyperachiever will just continue to tell you like you still didn't achieve enough, like you still need to do more, and that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself day after day after day. And it's not that when you start to listen to the hyperachiever, you stop achieving. But what you do is you achieve and you're nice to yourself along the way instead of being mean to yourself along the way. You say something like, I'm grounded instead of I'm floating. I don't know how to figure this out, right? You can go back to telling yourself what is true versus the lies that
Well,
the mean voice.
yeah, and I think in the case of hyperachiever, it's also I take a moment to celebrate my wins. I take a moment to acknowledge my success. I use the grounding moments that they teach you in positive intelligence to stay in the moment instead of always thinking about where I'm not or what I haven't done yet and finding joy in the moments that I'm in. So it's really powerful in the sense that not only does it help you think more clearly going forward, but when you're living in that moment and in that space, you're building stronger connections with all the people around you.
Hmm. Stronger connections with all the people around you and stronger connections like with your own thought patterns. And not to go like too far down the neuroscience path, but you're truly starting to shift your neuroplasticity. We'll have an episode coming up in the podcast specifically about positive intelligence. And we'll go into more detail on that. But that was something I loved watching in you too. And I know your cohort members did as well, is that each week as you showed up and you were committed to your practices with positive intelligence and being able to recognize the hyperachiever and say, hang on a second, here's the better way to do this. I'm going to pause. I'm going to celebrate my successes, which hyperachievers are notorious for blowing right past onto the next thing. And when we do that, we don't build the muscle as much as we could. We skip over that opportunity. And so I love that you now see that and that I and your cohort members were literally watching your energy shift, like in how you showed up. And we talk about success stories when each session starts. And at first there's always hesitation for people to share success stories. But then the more you flex the muscle, the more showed up, you're like, yep, I'm ready to share my success story. And that's conditioning you, right, to find more of those success stories, to celebrate more of those success stories and what you have done, right, rather than stay focused on the mindset of what haven't I done? Because both of those things are going to be there, but you were very successful in conditioning your mindset to continue to see, hey, here's what I did do and what I'm going to celebrate. That's so great. Well, it sounds so simple and so easy, right? As you and I are talking about it right now. But did you have any roadblocks that came along the way? Did you have any, we call them unexpected, like gust of wind that blow in the sails of your course, and you think, uh-oh, how am I going to readjust these sails?
Yeah, I mean, of course I did. I would say I almost had like a storm kind of in the middle of it from a professional standpoint. Just a lot of change and a lot of unexpected events that popped up and I'd be lying if I'd say there were bad weeks where I struggled with the positive intelligent piece or felt, like am I on the right path or did I just create like this idea that, was the self-limiting piece of me is like, can I really do this? The thing I recognized the most though 'Cause that's happened to me before. I would get really excited about something, and then something would happen, and I'd just, like, spiral out, and I'm giving up, and I'm just moving back. The difference this time is that I really truly felt that grounding effect. I really truly felt that, like, as this storm was going around me and all these things that I couldn't control were happening, I felt really firm and where I was standing. And even though there were times where I questioned myself or where I was headed, I didn't spiral out this time. And the best part is I acknowledged that it was the work that I had been doing up to this point was the reason why I was able to stay so grounded, so calm, so collected, and really just let kind of all those things that were out of my control, kind of the tornado that was going around me, just kind of let that rage and stay zoned in on that signal that I had created. And I'm really proud of myself. I can say that with confidence. Like this is one of the most proud that I've been about being able to make it through some of these big storms and stay in this grounded space.
Oh, I love it, Missy. I love it. And I just this the smile on your face right now and the energy that's radiating from you. Well, I am certainly proud of you too. And I love that you fully took credit for it and said, no, like this, I've been doing this, right? I have been putting in the work and it's making a difference. I'm envisioning that scene in The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz has so many good life lessons in it, by the way. But that scene where Dorothy's inside the tornado, or at the beginning and she's in the house and Toto's are with her, and like all these random things are flying by. There's the two men in the rowboat, there's a horse, there's a weather vane. She's just watching it and she's observing it and she's like, okay, well, what, waiting to see what happens next. I had almost heard that in you too. Like, all right, there was this churn and there was all this going around, but I knew that I was still in the calm. I knew that I was still grounded. And that was a much better space to be than previous circumstances where you were in the tornado and just hopping right in the rowboat with the with the two guys, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, one of the things that I was able to talk about a little bit on my own LinkedIn was, uh, I think when you have that storm going around you like that, it's a good time to pause and ask the question, okay, you have all this change going on. Are you changing, or is the thing around you changing? And if you're changing, is this a transformational moment for you to really think about something else? But if you're not changing, which in this case it wasn't me, it was all of this other stuff that's changing around me, this doesn't change the values of who I am or what I do. So let all of that change around me. I'm still grounded in the values that I have that are leading me to this direction that I want to go.
That's so powerful. You knew who you are and what you stand for, and you could stand strong in the midst of all of that change that was happening, which was out of your control. You focused on what you could control and let go of what you couldn't. That so speaks to your grit, your resilience, Missy, and just the journey of building that muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, if a listener wanted to experiment with either to achieve her own success or to find the same type of clarity, the calm in the storm, the signal in the noise, what is something that you would recommend, in particular other women leaders do to help achieve the same groundedness that you have?
Yeah, and I think from a career standpoint, women, especially at my level and where I am in my career, I just don't see women using career coaching enough. And there's so many great opportunities and people out there that I've connected with through coaching, and a lot of organizations don't really support it. And so I hear a lot from a lot of my friends that are in this situation, and I say, "Well, have you tried career coaching?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, my company won't pay for that." This is something that's so important to where you're going and what you want to do professionally, that it's an investment within yourself. And I think about all the things that we spend money on. Career coaching is something that is worth spending the money on for you to invest in, even if your organization won't pay for it. So that's the one really big piece of advice I give, is that career coaching is worth it. Go out there and find you a really good one, because that's what you're gonna need. You need that support, you need that help, and you need someone that's trained and knows how to ask the right questions to get that out of your head so that you can figure out where to move forward.
Hmm. But and this is the part where I feel obliged to say that this is not a paid endorsement. I miss me. I I have not compensated her to be here. But I really appreciate you sharing that, Missy, because I know a lot of people they're still not aware of what a coach can do for you. And as women in particular, I've noticed women are not conditioned to invest in themselves the way you did, or the way that I have. I mean, I am a coach and I have a coach because we all have blind spots. We all have ways that we get stuck in our head. And when someone can hold up a compassionate mirror for you, or like you said, guide you with the right questions, to use your word earlier, it's magical what happens. And it's so nice to have the relief of no longer being stuck in the turn and to have those clear steps to move forward.
Yeah, and I think I hear a lot people say, "Well, I don't need a coach because I have a mentor," and those are 2 different things. And so, and mentors are really important too, and I know we talked about that as part of one of the experiments, talking about mentors and champions and allies and the importance of all of that, that there's just something really powerful about coaching that goes beyond mentoring, so
Yes. Yes. Well, and the coaching that you're a part of too is very career focused. And here's where I will make a plug that year to date, the women who have graduated from same programs that Missy has have collectively increased their compensation by over $700,000. So it is amazing, right? That's something to truly celebrate. So I mean, it is an investment that earns a return. Well, Missy, is there any other advice or additional reflections or insight that you want to share with our listeners today?
yeah, I'm just so honored to be here. I think, we were joking as we were getting ready and preparing for this, and you said you were gonna say all these nice things about me, and I said, "Well, I'm gonna graciously accept them because I've learned how to accept compliments now as a hyperachiever." And, but I think what's really exciting for me is that because of the work I've done and the place I'm at in my career is that I'm making connections like I am with you, and I get to be on this podcast and share what I've learned, and it's a really humbling and exciting part of my journey going forward, so thank you so much for having me here today.
Well, it's such an honor for me to have you, and I mean, true words are not difficult to say. So, Missy, future Dr. Missy, future PhD Missy, I want to thank you so much for courageously, for honestly, for humbly sharing your empowering journey with us. My guess, my prediction is that your insights will help listeners step into their own clarity. And maybe today, as they listen, they found the signal in the noise, or perhaps you inspire them to take a step, to take that one step to gain their own clarity, know what's next on the career path, and have the peace of mind to have the answer of what do I want to be when I grow up. All right, listeners, well, thank you for tuning in today. If you'd like to explore the resources and courses that Missy shared, come on over to the Leadership Lab community. Go to jamiemckinney.com/lab. And because you listen here to the podcast, use promo code podcast for $100 off of a membership. Well, thank you for listening to today's episode. Before you close out, before you hit X on that top corner, it would mean a lot to me if you hit like, subscribe, or leave a review. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, keep experimenting, keep growing, and focus on progress over perfection.